Bonjour, welcome to Wahsa Citizens Education Center's radio Zoom classes. This is MEL3E, grade 11 workplace math, and I'm Bronwyn Slade. If you'd like to participate live today, you can call the Wahsa studio at 1-800-465-7144 or 737-4017. You can listen on the radio at 91.9 FM and on the television at Bell Express View Channel 972. You're always welcome to join me live through the Zoom link, which is available from me, your teacher, and also your DEC.
Our classes are scheduled Monday through Thursday from 9 till 10 in the morning, and we are now in our 9th and final week of our 9-week course.
The support questions by now you should know are the practice problem questions and not to submit them for marking, while the key questions are the ones with the key icon and they're the ones to submit for grading. So please do all of these ones, showing all of your work, your steps, and your thinking so that I can truly understand what you understand and support you with it. There are 3 different methods for submitting your work. You can scan your work and send it electronically using a smart device, either the iPhone Notes app or the Android Google Drive app, or other apps, but those are the ones that are free and available through those devices. Both have fairly straightforward scan functions. So using that, then you can send it to studentwork at nnec.on.ca and CC it to bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca, or you can also send it to me through Facebook Messenger at bslatewasa. The second method is to drop your work off into Lookout. We have an outdoor mailbox at our location 74 Front Street. We're the bright red building next to the post office, and we have a small white mailbox next to our side entrance. The third method is to hand your work in to your DEC. Your DEC can either send your work through the Express or fax it to 807-737-1732 or toll-free fax to 1-800-463-7852. You can connect with me through social media. Both my Facebook and my YouTube channel are under the name bslatewasa. All of our radio Zoom classes are recorded and I upload them to YouTube and share them on Facebook. So that's a really easy way to access the replays of our videos so that you can slow things down, pause things, review things as needed. There are short videos on my YouTube channel that cover common errors or confusing concepts, so that can be a good place to go if you need some support. Math is a really visual subject, so I strongly encourage you to access the videos. Just listening to me talk on the radio is not going to give you the full experience and not going to really help you understand. So if you can't join me live through Zoom or access the YouTube videos, let me know and you can I can send you a copy of the videos so you still get that experience. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out and contact me. My email is bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca. My Facebook is bslatewasa. You can call me at 807-737-1488, extension 2209, or toll free 1-800-667-3703. Remember again that June 10th, this Friday, is the last day to submit your work, which includes both the coursework, which you have, and the culminating assignment, which most people don't have. So you really need to get me your coursework in so that I can give you the culminating assignment so you can get that in on time as well. All right, today we are doing Unit 2 review, but let's first activate our brain with some mental math. I don't believe memorization and drilling and killing facts helps students to learn them. Instead, I think it's important to develop strategies that we can use in various situations. Speed and memorization are not the foundation of mathematics understanding. They are fluency things that might be useful in the long run once you truly understand something. But at the beginning, speed, and really at any point, speed is not the most important thing at all. And memorization is not more important than understanding. So our question today is 826, take away 437. And we're going to use place value and negative numbers. This one blew my mind when I first looked at it, and it can be pretty confusing. So if it confuses you, don't worry about it, move on. It's totally fine. It's just one more tool, but if it works for you, great. So what we're going to do is we're going to break our numbers into place value. So 826, we're going to have 800 plus 20 plus 6. And then we're going to subtract 400, which is plus 30 plus 7. Really, those plus signs are not helpful. That's just knowing that those numbers are broken up like that. Okay, so now we're going to do these each separately. We're going to take each of these parts away separately. So 800 take away 400 is 400. 20 take away 30 is negative 10, right? We take away 20 and then we still have 10 more to take away is really what we're saying. Like when you think is a way to think about this. So we can take away 20, but then we still need to take away another 10 in order to be able to take away 30. The same with 6 take away 7. We can take away 6, but we need to still take away 1 more in order to get rid of all 7. We've only taken away 6, so we can take away 1 more. So then we have 400 take away 10, which is 390. And then 390 take away 1, which is 389. So 826 take away 437 is 389. Again, this is a little bit of a mind stretcher because we don't usually introduce negative numbers like this, but it works and it makes sense conceptually to me. So hopefully it makes sense to you. If not, and you want to talk about it, let me know, reach out. Okay, so let's quickly go over what the final assessment is and what to expect. So it's not an exam, it is a culminating assignment. So it covers all 20 of our lessons. It's open book, so that means you have access to your assignments, to the YouTube videos, to your IEL booklet, to the Desmos calculators, to Google Maps. Use all of these tools to help you with your assignment. It's completely fine to use all the resources that you have. Again, you don't have to have it memorized. You're showing me your understanding opposed to what you can spit back out at me. That's more important. It is not timed, but it does have a deadline. For this term, the deadline is June 10th, as everything needs to be done before June 10th. If you are really struggling with that, reach out to me and we can talk. But if you don't talk to me, there's no way I can know that that is a problem for you and that life is happening. Life completely happens. I understand that. I experience chaos in my life as well, and it can be hard to get things done. So if you're struggling, reach out to me. I'm flexible, but only if you communicate with me. If you don't communicate with me, then I'm not flexible. So it's better to talk to me for an extension opposed to just handing in something late or hoping that it's just all good. The structure is likely unfamiliar. It's not exactly the same as all of your IEL booklets. It is something that you're sort of building a whole project that you have multiple parts to that connects everything that we've been learning. Okay, so we are diving into lesson 6 today, which is buying decisions. So first we talked about unit price, and remember that unit price is the total price for a package divided up by the number of units or items in that package. So it is the price per one thing. So that could be the dollars per 1 liter or the dollars per 1 egg, also dollars per kilogram, but also sometimes could be things like dollars per 100 grams. Grams are pretty small. And so that could be, sometimes it is like that. Still would be qualified as a unit price. And then we talk about incentive programs. And incentive programs are something that motivate someone to buy something, complete a survey, sign up for a mailing list. They can be, there's various, we went through these in detail, but price reduction, loyalty programs, free samples, free upgrades with a purchase, trade up programs, options at time of purchase, sweepstakes and prizes, promotional items. There's lots of different things that companies provide as incentives to encourage you to buy from them or to connect with them. And then we talked about converting currency, so money, converting money. Specifically, we looked at converting from Canadian to American dollars and back. So the conversion factor changes daily, but right now it's about 1 Canadian dollars equals 0.7 $1.8673 US dollars. So yeah, but it changes, it fluctuates daily. So this means that for every $1 purchase in Canada, Americans pay about 79 cents of their own dollars. If we're doing it opposite, so the conversion factor changes, again, changes daily, and it's from going from $1 US is equal to about 1.27089 Canadian dollars. So that means for every $1 purchased in America, Canadians pay $1.27 approximately. So how do we actually calculate that? How do we actually figure out what we're paying? So I said, so for me, setting up ratios really makes sense. And you put whatever you want to talk about on the top. You can use either of these ratios. Both of them will get you the same answer, but you use what you're looking for. We'll do an example. So support questions on page 4. Calculate the unit price for the following: 2 kilograms of carrots for $2.59. Sorry. Okay, so unit price is always dollars per something. So in this case, it's per kilograms. So that means that we do our dollars, $2.59 divided by 2 kilograms. So that's going to tell us what, if we do that division, we figure out what 1 kilogram is equal to. So $2.59 divided by 2 is equal to $1.30. So that is the unit price. For 1 kilogram, it's $1.30. This is how you can compare different things of different amounts. So we have a box of 425 gram box of cereal for $3.49. So again, we're looking for dollars per gram. And so we have $3.49 divided by 425 grams is equal to this one is going to give us a small number. So 0.0082 grams. So this is why often, so this is how many dollars per gram. This is why often it's 100 grams, because if we times that by 100, we get 0.82, so 82 cents per 100 grams. And that's just a little bit, makes a little bit more sense than 0.0082 per grams. We don't have that. It's a really, really small amount of money. So 82 cents per 100 grams makes more sense. All right. Then number 4, calculate the number of points you would get at the community store if you bought the following items and received 50 points for every dollar spent. So a toy for $24.95. So we are spending, so here, how many dollars are we spending in total? We're spending $24, right? Because 95 cents isn't a dollar yet. So we're spending $24. And that means we do 24 times 50. And that equals $1,200, sorry, 1,200 points. Same with a blanket for $89.99. Still, we spent $89. So we do 89 times 50, which is equal to 4,450 points. And converting Canadian prices to US prices. So using the currency conversion that is here, even though it's not current, it's not, we had used the one that's they give you. So how I say that you set this up is that we're looking for X US dollars compared to 1.27089 So sorry, A is $1.02 per liter of gasoline if Canadian dollars, $1 Canadian dollar equals 0.9342 US dollars. So I say you say you're looking for X US dollars over 1.02. So then you say you do the same thing. You do 0.9342 US dollars on the top is equal to 1 Canadian dollar on the bottom. And so that means that when we cross multiply, we get X is equal to 1.02 times 0.9342. And then we can calculate what that is. So that's what I mean by setting up the ratios with whatever you want on the top. Then it just makes your math simpler. So it is 95 cents per liter. US dollars. That's the same for these other ones as well. If you're going to do it for, if you're going to reverse it, if you have US dollars and you're looking for Canadian dollars, so we have a pair of jeans for $32.99 US, then the same thing. This time we're looking for Canadian dollars. So we're going to say Y Canadian dollars on the top is equal to $32.99 US dollars on the bottom. And then we say, okay, 1 Canadian dollar on the top is equal to 0.9286 US dollars on the bottom. So that if I cross multiply this, if I'm trying to isolate for my Y, then it just is Y is equal to, I'm just going to multiply both sides by 32.99 in order to get Y by itself. To 99 times 1 divided by 0.9286 is equal to 35.53. So that's how many Canadian dollars it costs, this pair of jeans costs. Same idea for the other ones. That one's a little bit tricky. You need some practice. Practice, ask me questions. Okay, lesson number 7, simple interest. So simple interest, so in general, calculating interest depends on 3 factors. So it's the amount of money that you invested or borrowed, because interest can be calculated both for investments or for when you're borrowing money. So the amount that you borrow or invest is called the principal, and we use P as our indicator, as our variable. Then the yearly interest rate is the second thing we need to know, which is expressed as a decimal, and it's represented by R for simple interest. And then the time in which money is invested or borrowed, so how long you are investing it or how long you're borrowing for, and that's expressed in years, and that is represented with a T. So for simple interest, the interest is found by doing principal times your rate times your time, and it's, so we say that it's I equals PRT is our formula. So in order to find the interest, oh wait, no, first. So question 1, we're just starting by converting our interest rates. So number 1 on page 16, express each of the following rates as a decimal. So 8.5% is 0.085, right? We change it and we divide it by 100. 0.5%. So for if it's already in a decimal, but it's still a percent, so we need to make it even smaller. We divide it by 100. We get 0.005 as a decimal. 11.75% is 11.75%. You convert the fraction to a decimal first, and then as a decimal, that's 0.1175. Takes practice, but once you get comfortable with it, it's fairly straightforward. So 2 on page 17, convert each into years. So 78 weeks. So remember there are 52 weeks in a year. So we do 78 divided by 52 is going to tell us how many weeks, equivalent this is in a year, in years. So 1.5, so 78 weeks is the equivalent of 1.5 years. 24 months is divided by 12, which is, there's 12 months in a year. So that's 2 years, because 24 divided by 12 is 2. And 109 days, sorry, 1,095 days, my bad, divided by 365 is the number of days in a year. So 1,095 divided by 365 is equal to 3 years. They do not always come out exactly. That is not realistic, but that's just how your workbook is set it up. All right, number 4. John invested $10,000 of his money for 51 days at simple interest. The interest rate was 3%. How much interest did John earn? So I believe that you should set up your what your variables are, so what you're looking for, so that you know what you know and what you don't know. So you are trying to find the amount of interest earned. It says that it's simple interest, so we know W equals I equals PRT. The principal is $10,000. The rate is 3%, so that equals 0.03. And the time is equal to 51 days. So that equals 51 out of 365. So to figure out how much interest he earns, we do I equals PRT. So equals principal, $10,000, times rate, which is 0.03, times time, which is 51 divided by 365. I could do that as a decimal and just write the decimal in, but instead of having that, it's something I had to round. I just wrote it all out. And then we put this in a calculator. And it tells us that the interest earned is $41.92. So that's how much interest John earned. How much money did he have after 51 days? So he had his principal, which is the $10,000 plus his interest, which is $41.92. So that means he had $10,041.92. Okay, so now we're going to look at simple interest to compound interest. So remember that simple interest is based on the principal amount of the loan or a deposit, the investment. So you only earn interest or you only pay interest on the initial amount. So it doesn't go up very fast. This blue line on my screen is showing simple interest, and you can see that it does not go up very fast. It goes up, it's a straight line, and it goes up very consistently. So that's what linear growth is. That's what a straight line is that we're increasing at the same amount. The amount of interest that you're paying over time is the same, because simple interest, you just calculate it on the principal, on the original amount, which is great when you are borrowing money, because then you're paying the same amount of interest constantly, and you are not paying more and more depending on how long you are borrowing for. Compound interest is based on the principal, the amount you invest or borrow, and the interest that accumulates on it every period. So every time that you earn money, that interest gets added to your principal, and now you're earning money, you're earning interest on that part as well, which isn't great for borrowing, because then you're ending up paying interest on interest. But in terms of investing and earning money, then it means that you are earning interest on interest. Sorry. So this is exponential growth. So it curves up and you increase rapidly. So compound interest means that you're getting a lot more money if you're investing than if you're doing simple interest over time. As you can see at the beginning, these lines are right on top of each other. There's not much of a difference. After quite a long time, that's when it starts to be dramatically different. But it's like dramatic, like it's like millions of dollars worth potentially, depending on how much you're investing, at what rate, and how long you're doing it for. So it's not always millions of dollars, but it can be millions of dollars in difference. So for lesson 8, there were no support questions. There were just the worksheets. You completed the steps to make a spreadsheet to figure out, to see this connection between simple interest and compound interest and how you earn more with compound interest. So you just had to follow the steps that handed all those questions. So there's no real questions for us to practice. However, if you do not have access to a computer, to Excel or Google Docs, sorry, Google Sheets, then you need to let me know, because I can give you an alternative lesson. That means that you still get credit for doing the thinking, doing the analysis, even if you don't have access to the resource. It's really important. Okay, lesson 9 was compound interest. So now we looked at this a little bit more in detail. So with compound interest, remember, we just talked about how it is you're earning the interest on the interest, right? So calculating it is a little bit more complicated. In your IL book, depending on which version you had, if you got it earlier in the year, you would have had the version before I arrived. Once I arrived, I realized that I didn't like the option that it was giving you. It's outdated. So I updated it and sent those ones out. But that means that it could be confusing, because what I'm going to talk about, you might not have in your IL book. If that is the case, go back to lesson 9, it's a video, and watch it. I explain in detail the 2 different formulas and how they are connected. I'm not going to do that now today in the review, but I did that. I spent that time in that lesson, and about why I think this is a better tool to have than the one that was in the original IL booklet. So we still have a bunch of variables. So we have A, which is our final amount. When we are calculating compound interest, we end up finding how much money we have overall, opposed to figuring out just the interest. In simple interest, we calculate just the interest, and we have to add it to the principal to figure out how much it is overall. In compound interest, we find the total amount, and we have to subtract the principal to find out the specific interest earned. So then we have P, which is still your principal, which is the money you start with. So either your investment or how much you're borrowing. Then we have R, which is still your interest rate, and it's still expressed as a decimal. T, which is the time, the number of years, still in years. So all of those are the same. What is different for this one is that you have an N, which is the number of compound periods per year. So how often you are compounding, because the more frequently you compound, the more interest you earn, because you're continuing, you're putting your interest back on your principal, and you're making your principal so bigger. So if you do that frequently, that means that you're going to earn more money, because your principal getting bigger more quickly. If you do that infrequently, then your money doesn't grow as fast. So the formula is A equals P, open a bracket, to times by 1 plus R divided by N, close your bracket. And then everything inside the brackets is raised to the exponent of N times T. So this takes into account those compounding periods, because that N part is the compounding, is the part that tells us that we are doing this compounding part, where we're adding our interest to our principal. So now we need to remember what compounding frequency is about. So this is the time period in which the compound interest is calculated and added back to your principal. Often it's less than 1 year. It often happens more frequently than a year. So we need to understand the language in order to be able to interpret it and into the numbers that we need. So annually means 1, annually means once per year, annually means yearly. Semi-annually means twice per year, so 2. Quarterly means 4 times per year, so 4. Monthly means 12 times per year, every month, so 12. Weekly means every week, so there's 52 weeks in a year, so 52. And daily means every day, which is 365, because there's 365 days in a year. We ignore leap years, doesn't matter if it's leap year or not, we always just do 365. So it's really important to know those are your options for your N. Your N is going to be one of those 6 numbers. So you can't forget that. Okay, so let's do some practice problems. So on page 30 are these support questions. So first we are just reading the problem and making sure we can identify our variables, so that's key. So number one, find the value of P for each situation described below. So a $2,000 loan at an interest rate of 5% compounded weekly. So our P, our principal, we're just going to say P equals, how much is our loan? $2,000. So P equals $2,000. That is all this question is asking. So B, an interest rate of 7% compounded daily on an investment of $5,000. So our P is what we're looking for. How much are we investing? $5,000. C, $100 is borrowed at an interest rate of 3% compounded biweekly. So our P, how much is getting borrowed? $100. So P is 100. That is all this question is asking. It's just making sure you can extract the principal from a question, from a situation. Okay, so number two, find the value of R divided by N for each situation described below. So for interest rate, we have those two parts, right? So we always need to have two things. So A, an annual interest rate of 11% compounded annually. So R is your 11%, which we need to express as a decimal, right? So 0.11. N is compounded annually. So compounded once per year. So R over N is going to be 0.11 over 1. Right, letter B, annual interest rate of 2.5% compounded semi-monthly. So R is 2.5%, which is equal to 0.025. N is compounded semi-monthly. Now, of course, it has one of the ones I didn't talk about that is very unlikely to happen, but semi-monthly means twice a month. We have talked about this before. So twice a month. So that means that is 24 times a year. So N is 24. So that means that R over N, what's going to be in your formula, is going to be 0.025 divided by 24. Annual interest rate of 6% compounded quarterly. So R is 0.06, N is 4, it's quarterly. R over N is 0.06 divided by 4. And annual interest rate of 1.5% compounded daily. R is equal to 1.5%, which is equal to 0.015. And N is equal to 365 because it's daily. So R over N is 0.015 divided by 365. And then number 3, find the value of NT for each situation described below. So compounded semi-annually for 6 years. So again, we need to figure out what our N is. N is semi-annually, so that's twice a year. So N is 2. And T is 6 years. So, and T is 6. So N times T is 2 times 6, which is equal to 12. This one you can do the multiplication if you want to just make, if that makes your life easier, do whatever makes your life easier. But be careful of rounding. When you're multiplying, you're not going to round. You're not going to have rounding errors. So B, compounded biweekly. So that means that this is another one of those. Biweekly would be every 2 weeks. So it is 26 times a year. So N is equal to 26 and T is equal to 2. So NT is equal to 26 times 2, which is 52. Compounded semi-monthly. So N equals 24, NT equals 3. So NT is equal to 24 times 3, which is equal to 72. Compounded daily for 6 months. So this one's tricky because our time is not in years. So N is 365 because it's daily. T is equal to 6 out of 12 because it's 6 months out of 12 months. So that could be 0.5. You could either do it a fraction or decimal. So NT is going to be 365 times 0.5, which is 300 divided by 2 is divided in half is, sorry, half of 300 is 150, half of 60 is 80, sorry, is 30, so that's 180, half of 5 is 2.5, so that's 182.5 would be your times t. Okay, so then we have to put it all together. That was just practicing the parts. So we need to determine the amount of each investment and determine the interest earned on each investment. So here we have 150, 1,500 at 9% compounded quarterly for 10 years. So we now need to figure out all of the variables. So we have P equals 1,500, R is equal to 0.09, N is equal to 4, it's compounded quarterly, and T is equal to 10. So our formula, A equals P times 1 plus R over N, all to the exponent NT. You don't have to have that memorized. It is okay. You can just look it up. That's fine. So then you're going to put in your variables. So 1,500 times 1 plus 0.09 over 4, all to the exponent 4 times 10. You can do those steps, or you can just put it all in your calculator as one, whatever works best for you in your calculator. So 1,500 times 1 plus 0.09 divided by 4, all to the exponent of 4 times 10. And I can look to see that that did not go where I wanted it to. I needed to put my exponent here, which is why I really like Desmos, because it can be really obvious where you make mistakes. It doesn't like it because I still have this. It can be annoying though, because it can have errors because it is a computer. So that's $3,652.78. I think I totally wrote that number down wrong. 3652.78. There seemed to be too many twos. So then to figure out the interest, you do the amount that you earned, the total. So $3,652.78. Take away the amount you invested. So $1,500. So that's going to be $2,152.78 is the amount of interest that you earned. And that's how you do a compound interest problem. The same for D. Okay, so let's look at banking transactions, lesson 10. So in banking transactions, we talked about how you get a record of the money that has moved in and out of your bank account. And it's important to understand the transaction codes that you have. So I only listed a couple there. I go into this much more detail in lesson 10's video. So we have withdrawal, which is when you're taking money out of your account, which is often WD. Deposit, when you're putting money into your account, which is DEP. Direct deposit, which is when money is put directly into your account from someone else, which is DD. Or debit, paying from your bank account without cash, so like using your debit card, which is DBT. So again, there are a ton of these. These are only just a couple. Then we talk about online banking, which allows all of its users with internet connections. So if you have an internet connection, you can access your financial information and management activities for 24/7. So instead of having to wait till the bank is open. The site is secure, which means that all of your confidential information is private between you and your bank. And banking apps work the same way, that they are accessible 24/7 and they are secure. Of course, we often hear every once in a while about a breach of some sort, but banking, that often happens with stores. Banks are really, really secure. This is if people are able to access and hack into their systems and access money, then nobody is going to use them. They have no business. So it's incredibly important for banks to be secure. So that's a primary focus of theirs. But there's sometimes fees that can be charged for various services and transactions when you're doing online banking. Have debit card banking. So this is when you're using your debit card, which is super convenient. You can use it at a store, both with cashiers or with self-checkouts, or you can also use an ATM or an ABM, an automatic teller machine or an automatic banking machine to take cash out or do some other, sometimes you can pay bills or some things at those machines. However, if you are using your own financial institution ATM, so I'm a CIBC banker. If I use ATM that has a CIBC logo on it, then I might get charged a fee for using my debit card there, but it's a lower fee, usually nothing. Really, for me, it's nothing but anyway, it could charge you up to $2 maybe. Plus, if you are not using your financial institution's banking machine, so if I use something that says it's just a generic one that isn't attached to a bank, or if I use one that is a Scotiabank or RBC or Bank of Montreal, then I'm going to get a charge from their institution. So I'm going to get charged from that bank, which could be anywhere from from $1 to $4 for using their machine. And I'm definitely going to get a charge from my bank from using somebody else's bank machine. So it is really, really good to be aware that if you are taking cash out of bank machines, that you are paying for that luxury of doing that. You're paying extra fees, which can add up a lot. It can be $5 or more, which is a lot of money to just pay for the sake of using that machine. So you want to be conscious of that. And there could be other charges as well. Okay, so let's look at these support questions. So these are on page 42 of your IEL book. So number 1, so for each situation, calculate the monthly service charges. So A, during 1 month, Erin had 22 online transactions and 4 email money transfers. Erin managed to keep her monthly balance above $1,500 for the entire month. What were her service charges for that month? The account information is given below. So to use the bank, you get charged different things depending on what you do. So for Erin's particular account, whatever kind of account that she has, checking account, these are the rules. So she is allowed to have up to 6 transactions for $3.25 per month. And that means that, and after that 6 transactions, every transaction she pays 85 cents for those transactions. It's $3.50 for each email money transfer. Every time she sends a money transfer or receives one, she has to pay $3.50. But online transactions over 6 are free if the minimum balance of $1,500 is maintained on the account for all times. So that is super important here, because if she has this balance, then her online transactions are free. It told us that she has that balance. So that means that she had 22 online transactions, but because she had this much money in her account, she doesn't have to pay any extra. So she's paying the $3.25 for having 6 online transactions. She does not have to pay anything else for the rest of the 22 transactions because she had a balance that was high enough. And then she had 4 email money transfers, and she has to pay $3.50 for each of those. So if we calculate that, $3.25 plus 4 times $3.50 is equal to $17.25. So the reason that banks do that is because if you have a certain amount of money in your account, then they can use that money. Banks invest your money, they hold your money and they invest it. So if you have a certain amount of money in your account, then they have more money to invest. And so they want to encourage you to have more money in your account so that they have more access to your funds. Okay, number 2, for each situation, calculate the monthly service charge. So calculate the service charges of doing banking using an ATM and Interac purchases during the month. Kathy belongs to the RBC Bank and uses an RBC Bank machine to withdraw cash 17 times and to pay bills 12 times. She also withdrew cash from a non-RBC ATM 13 times. She also used her debit card to purchase items 17 times during the month. The account information is given below. That just seems like a lot of transactions. But anyway, different people have different lives. So account information for Kathy's account, up to 15 transactions for $7.25 per month and 60 cents for each transaction over 15, $2 for each transaction from a non-RBC ATM. So up to 15 transactions, she's good. We need to figure out how many transactions she did because she did a lot. So we're just going to, so the number of transactions we are just going to figure out. And these are all of your transactions because your bank, doesn't matter if you're using your bank or the other bank, it's still going through your bank. So she used an RBC bank machine to withdraw cash 17 times and to pay 12 bills. So that's 17 plus 12 plus a non-RBC ATM 13 times plus 17 times she used her debit card. So 17 plus 12 plus 13 plus 17. She did 49 transactions that month. So, but she, for the first 15, she just pays $7.24. So for the extra transactions, you need to figure out how many extra transactions she made. So 49 take away 15 is equal to 34. So she had 34 extra transactions she needs to pay for. So for those first 15, she pays $7.25 plus 34 she has to also pay 60 cents for, plus $2 for each transaction from a non-RBC ATM. So she did that 13 times. So $2 times 13. So $7.25 times, sorry, not times, plus 34 times 60 cents plus 2 times 13 is equal to $53.65. So just for using her bank account, Kathy's paying $53.65 a month. We don't know if this is different than usual, but that's a lot of money to be using just to be paid, just to be using your account. Maybe it would make more sense for her to not withdraw cash so frequently, but to withdraw cash, like more cash than once. Or maybe it would make sense for her to get a different kind of bank account, which allows her to have unlimited transactions and she doesn't have to pay for each individual transaction. She might want to consider some options. All right, so then we have number 3. Craig doesn't have a passbook for his checking account. His bank sends him a monthly statement. Here's the statement for October. What was Craig's balance at the beginning of the month? So we look here on the statement and we say balance forward is telling us how much money came from last month. So how much money we had at the beginning, $460.98 is how much he started the month of October with. They don't put in the dollar signs because just to save, so keep things clear, we know that we're talking about money, but in answering the questions, I'm putting a dollar sign because we're talking about money and it's not as clear. B, what was his balance at the end of the month? So it doesn't tell us, it doesn't say like end of month balance. It might, something might tell you that, but this one doesn't. Just we look at the end of the month, October 31st, the last October transaction, it gives us our balance as $208.35. So that's the end of the month's balance. What transaction did he make on October 5th? So we're going to look at the date and we're going to say, okay, October 5th is here. So here it says CHQ number 293. So back to when I didn't include this one in today's list, but we talked about transaction types, codes, and CHQ stands for check. So the check, so it's the transaction that happened was a check clear. Okay, no, sorry. We know that it's a check. Now we need to figure out, did he deposit a check or did a check clear? Did a check that he had written clear his account, the money come out of his account? So now we're going to look at withdrawal. We're going to look at the number. The number is 150 and it's under withdrawals. So that means it came out. So a check for $150 that he wrote cleared his account. So that means that whoever he wrote the check to deposited it, and now the banks have talked about it, and the bank has transferred the money from Craig's account to the other person's account. What transaction did he make on October 17th? So now we're going to look at October 17th. We found it. Okay, so it says DBTWD. So debit withdrawal. So to me, that means that he made a purchase of $76.90 because he used his debit card. And so he made a purchase, bought something. And then the amount is under withdrawals. E, what transaction did you make on October 26th? So October 26th, we see, and we see ATM withdrawal. It's ATM WD, so ATM withdrawal. So that means that he took money out. $15 is the amount under withdrawal. So he took out $15 from an ATM. How much was his monthly service charge? So service charge is SC under description. So we look at that, and that's a withdrawal of $11.65. This is service charge. So do you think about that compared to Kathy's, the previous question, which was over $53? That's a really big difference, right? Of money that just paying to the bank. So that's just something you really want to be paying attention to, is what are the right service charges that you're paying. Okay, and that wraps us up for Unit 2. Hopefully that was a good refresher of all the parts of Unit 2. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out. This is what I'm here for. It's a jam-packed week, but I can make time for my students, so please connect. I try to connect with people, but it is better for you to advocate for yourself and you to reach out if you need support. So give me a call at 807-737-1488, extension 2209, or toll free 1-800-667-3703. You can also email me at bronwyn.slate, and that's spelled BRONWYN.SLATE@nnec.on.ca. Connect with me through Facebook at bslatewahsa. And remember, all of our lessons are on YouTube at bslatewahsa under a playlist called MEL3E, which is our course code. So you can find both our review lessons and also all of the 20 lessons broken down to each individual lesson to really give you a lot of information as well as some more review. So there is a ton of stuff on YouTube. Go check it out if you need support to wrap up your course. Remember, June 10th is the last day to submit work. That is this Friday. I hope to hear from you soon. Take care. Thanks for joining me, and miigwech.